This council meeting to order at 6 p.m. I need a motion for adoption of the minutes.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on January 22nd, 2018 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Budds and seconded by Councillor Espy. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have one delegation this evening. Excuse me, Mr. Shane Moffat. Mr. Moffat, you'd like to take the podium? Sorry about that.
I'm going to see him like I'm first, but Honorable Mayor, Councillors, thanks for having me. There's the people at the table here. I just want to come and talk to you about Rotary Park. I was here a year ago talking about the accommodation tax and fixing up Diamond 7 and 8. Last year, the council decided to put 20 grand forward, and I actually think it went down to 15. I think the city of Portage did a little bit of work over there. So they fixed up Diamond 8 pretty good. Still some work to be done. The Diamonds both have brand new dugouts in there, which has gone a long way in my application for a junior baseball club. I can tell you today we're accepted into Winnipeg, so it looks like we're going to have a junior team as long as I have the bodies. So I have about 14 kids in line right now. I'm just starting a drive to try and raise about $8,000 to start a team. It's very expensive. But I guess my main reason for being here, I'm just curious about the other $20,000 that was allocated for this year. Is that still on the table to finish Diamond 8 and to start on Diamond 7? The infields need to be done there. $20,000 isn't going to do it all, but it'll do a big chunk of it. Just a couple things I'd like to tell you. I went to a radio station in Morden and I got some towers donated to the PRRA. They're triangles, they're 8 by 8, so we're going to use those as foul poles. It's something that the league has done down there, so those are all donated. I think they're sitting out behind Stride Place, painted and ready to be installed. One other thing that I think is going to be very significant is I've had a phone call from a citizen that's willing to donate 2 score clocks, one for Diamond 7, one for Diamond 8. It's a $20,000 investment. The person wants to remain anonymous, but I'm 99% sure that that's going to take place this year. I just have to talk to the person a little bit more and finish that, and they're going to donate some score clocks. So that's the gist of me being here. Just come to see what you guys think and what's on the table for us, and any questions.
Okay. Did council have questions for Mr. Moffat?
Come on, somebody.
Am I allowed to ask it sort of a technical?
Well, it's questions. Yes. Go ahead, Councillor Fraser.
I just noticed that one of the new dugouts got flipped over in the wind. Is that?
Yeah, I just got word of that. Apparently that Boondock, who was doing the welding over there, didn't fasten that one down. Apparently Dave Sadler said there's no damage to it. But I haven't seen it. I haven't walked up to it, so you walk your dog over there all the time. And you know, one thing about those dugouts, they have to be put in place yet. They have to have seats and everything put in them. So there's still lots of work. They want to put weeping tile around the fence, around the top end of the fence, so when you're leaning on it, you don't cut your arms up. You know, this year we couldn't really go after provincials or anything because they weren't ready. But I think next year it's something. I know the high school team's talking about going after provincials, and you know, you got midgets, and there's lots to be had out there. So I think we got one of the nicest parks in the province. So I've been around all of them, and I think with the donation of the score clocks, and these score clocks are going to be pretty high end. They're all wireless. You just sit there and push buttons. I mean, they're not going to crimp on them, and I've priced them out for the person, and I think that's a done deal. So she'll buy the clocks, but we need somebody to install them, you know, run power out there and stuff like that. But I mean, to get somebody to give you $20,000 is pretty significant. But my biggest concern is making sure that there's still some accommodation tax sitting there for Diamond 7. Diamond 8's not done yet either, so I mean, it's going to take a little bit more, because that's where the juniors will play, and that's where the our senior ball club will play out of too. So
Okay, were there further questions for Mr. Moffat? Well, Mr. Moffat, on February the 24th, the budget is coming down. Is it
26th.
26th, sorry. That was 2 days early. 26th. So you and a lot of other groups of Portage will have answers after that. And
Okay.
Certainly there will be a lot of coverage of that. And yeah. Thank you very much for coming out this evening, presenting to us.
okay, appreciate it.
Thank
You
you.
very much. I got to run though. Got to go to the ring. Thank you.
So we have a hearing for road closure bylaw 17-8665. This is second and third reading, and this is Finance, Properties, and Legislative Committee. Councillor Budd, sorry.
Just you're opening the public hearing, are you?
I am.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak to it? Does not appear that way. Do you want me to ask for a motion to close it?
Okay, we'll have a motion to close the hearing. Moved by Councillor Budds and seconded by Councillor Dreger. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. So, if council remembers, some time ago, we did actually approve a resolution, approve an amendment to an original resolution that was passed in June, and this was done in December. And so it was to sell a portion of 18th Street for development. And so that, obviously, we had to go through different steps to have that completed, and the province weighed in on some opinion as to, you know, what should or should not be done, as well as Hydro and Bell MTS. So here we are today for our meeting tonight to move forward with that with the understanding that there is some observations from the province and some things that will still need to be taking place, and it's really to do with easements for the most part. So if there's no other questions, it is a recommendation I move that bylaw 17-8665 being a bylaw to close and sell a portion of 18th Street to Portage la Prairie Condominium Corporation number 7 for the purchase price of $21,780.54 be given second reading.
Moved by Councillor Budds and seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And that bylaw 17-8665 be given third reading, finally passed, signed, and sealed, and forwarded to the Minister of Indigenous and Municipal Relations for approval.
Moved by Councillor Budds and seconded by Councillor Draycott. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. And the next item is also yours, Councillor Budds.
Yeah, we'll move into my committee report now, and we have joint election up for discussion. And so I know I talked about this in committee last meeting, but obviously the issue is to conduct our 2018 municipal and school board election jointly with the Portage la Prairie School Division. That's something that we've done in the past. And obviously the alternatives is to conduct it with them or without. We are anticipating the election to cost $26,000. This is less than the actual cost of the 2014 election, because we are changing the enumeration process and using citizens information flyer for some of our advertising. And we do have a verbal agreement, as we've done in the past, for the Portage School Division to pay half of approximately $13,000. So it is a recommendation, and I so move that the council of the City of Portage la Prairie authorize conducting the 2018 election jointly with the Portage la Prairie School Division and splitting the expenses 50-50.
Moved by Councillor Budds and seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
The next item on my report is to give some direction to our administration. And so, as we know, we've discussed this in the past, and it was to deal with our Southeast Urban Expansion Strategy. So, if you recall, there was a consulting firm that was hired to prepare some conceptual designs and basically come up with some options. And option A was the one that was deemed to be the one that was supported for many different reasons, and it's been outlined in the report. Further to this, though, we did ask for some information with regards to traffic. I know that was brought up just recently in terms of the traffic flow that was going to be occurring in that area, and there is an additional report for council's consideration. So before I move on, and basically what I'm going to be looking for is an approval to move forward with option A. Was there any additional information or clarity, or was council content with the information they got from the traffic generation memo?
I'm just wondering if that volume of traffic then means that we would have some sort of control devices at the intersection of Dufferin and 9th Southeast, stop signs or four-way stop.
I think I'd ask Kelly, Braden from operations to answer that.
I believe last meeting I mentioned that traffic study has not been done, and I would recommend that that be done if the next phase of development is proceeding anytime soon.
So what we do have in the meantime is a sort of a rough estimate of what kind of traffic would be there, and I believe it was in the order of 2,500 vehicles a day.
Yeah, in the report, it's based on the above table, which they made those estimations. Result were to 2,053 trips per day, or sorry, on a single roadway, and they would consider that to be a low-volume residential collector classification. So, determining whether or not that under further expansion requires additional traffic control, I guess that's when the traffic study would come into play. Okay, so getting up to back up to the report, basically administration is asking us if they want us to, or if they want council wants them to continue to work on option A, and from my chair, I would like to make the recommendation that we advise administration to continue working on option A for that expansion strategy. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Buds. Sorry. And seconded by Councillor Wall. Any further questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? And that's carried.
And the last two things in my report were the quarterly reports for city manager and corporate services, which they are there for council's perusal. If you have not done so, you're welcome to do so and ask any questions. Seeing none, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Buds. City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Dreger, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have on the agenda this evening for information the fourth quarter reports as submitted by Pred. Now, Mr. May spoke to these reports, I think that's 3 weeks ago now in our committee meeting. And if there's any further questions, I'm sure either myself or Mr. May could answer them. If not, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Dreger. Councillor Fraze, Community Services Committee, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Community Services Committee has a series of fourth quarter reports that were brought up at our last committee meeting and discussed as to how volunteer or ad hoc committees add to the positive nature of life in Portage. And I'd be open to any questions anyone might have with those reports. And that would conclude.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Fraze. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall, please.
Yes, Your Worship. I also have fourth quarter reports from the Water Pollution Control Facility, the Water Treatment Plant, and the Waterworks Group for your reading pleasure.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Draycott, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening I do have Manitoba Hydro easement agreement. So the issue at hand is to enter into an easement agreement with Manitoba Hydro to allow them to access city property to facilitate repairs and maintenance on existing hydro utilities. We've got two options, obviously, to enter into an easement agreement or not to enter into the agreement. So Manitoba Hydro is requesting an easement agreement to enter into city property located at the rear lane, legally closed, north of Stanley Street between 4th Street Northeast and Broadway North. The closed lane is legally described as Parcel G, Plan 57474 River Lot 68, Parish of Portage la Prairie, and it is my recommendation that the City of Portage la Prairie authorize the Mayor and Manager of Administration to sign such easement agreement with Manitoba Hydro to access the city property legally described as Parcel G, Plan 57474, River Lot 68, Parish of Portage la Prairie, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Draycott and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And as well, we do have fourth quarter reports that we did go through last council meeting for the engineering and transportation departments. So any questions on those, then I can do my best to answer. If not, then that concludes my report.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Espy, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Included in my report are the 2017 year-end stats for the fire department and the fourth quarter reports for fire, bylaw enforcement, and RCMP, and those were presented in the last committee meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Espy.
That's my report.
Thank you. We have some items of deferred business. First of all is the land sale at 142 Wilkinson, and this is Councillor Budds.
Excuse me, before Councillor Budge speaks, I have a personal interest in this item and I'd like to recuse myself.
Thank you.
Yes, if council does recall, we tabled this particular item at last meeting for the purpose of determining the actual zoning, I believe, of this property. And so there was some discussion on whether or not the extent of what was required to go through this, to sell this, was required or not. And it turns out it is. So the report that was generated the first time round is this is the same report. So we need to apply for a development plan amendment, subdivision, and eventually a zoning bylaw amendment. The size of the property to be sold and therefore the purchase price can't be determined until a survey has been completed. Others who have property backing onto this public reserve from Wilkinson have also expressed an interest in purchasing the portion of public reserve behind their property. However, the only offer we have on this is the Lubkowski offer. And so it is very important to note that the Lubkowskis have agreed to be responsible for all costs related to this land sale. So all of these costs are not something that's going to be borne by the city. So it is a recommendation of the committee, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie authorize administration to move forward with the development plan amendment, subdivision, and zoning bylaw amendment of 2.08 acres of public reserve legally described in Title A5399 and roll number 375625 as described as 1721, and to sell a portion of this property adjacent to 142 Wilkinson Crescent to Carol Lubkowski for its proportionate assessed value plus all costs related to the sale.
Moved by Councillor Budds and seconded by Councillor Wall. Questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Praise?
I've been concerned with a couple of issues on this topic for some time. I note that our own planning district has some reservations about the process of selling public lands to private owners, especially adjacent to the lake, and this being public land, it seems that there ought to be some more planning input into this decision before we dispose of public lands the public might well have an interest in maintaining as public green space, and I don't see that analysis. So I'm planning to vote against it, maybe not with any prejudice toward the offer to purchase, but with a view towards seeing that some proper planning be done before we dispose of public green space.
Thank you, Councillor Fraze. Other questions? Councillor Wall?
I have a concern about selling one piece and leaving other parts of it inaccessible because of that, or selling 2 or 3 pieces and winding up with 2 or 3 little pieces of inaccessible public land. So I think I will not be supporting this motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wall. Other comments or questions? Councillor Budds?
question. Has the city recently ever maintained any of this public land?
Mr. Braden, would you like to comment on that?
I believe all I'm aware of is one or two trees have been taken down from this area.
So it's not a matter of the city actually maintaining this property, as it's been maintained by those residents.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Buds. Other questions or comments on the motion? I do have one comment. I think I mentioned last time in committee that if this sale goes ahead, the proceeds there will be a green fund set up to acquire green space as it becomes available in other areas, and all the proceeds from the sale will go into that green fund, and that administration has got that direction.
I could respond to your worship that there will be the option for council to approve a reserve for green space funds that have been sold to private entities. If council approves that fund, then we can later transfer this money into that reserve for future purposes of purchasing expanded green space.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. We have one item of new business, and this is the appointment of a FIPA officer, and this is Councillor Buds. This comes under finance.
Thank you. So as mentioned, the issue here is to appoint the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy FIPA officer for the City of Portage la Prairie. As you may recall or know, that we do actually require that each local public body designate a person. And just so everybody knows, it has historically been the city manager has served in this capacity, but this will become official and formal with this recommendation. So it is the recommendation of the committee, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie hereby designates the city manager as the head of the City of Portage la Prairie for the purpose of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act immediately.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no old business this evening, so we will adjourn council at 6:23 p.m. and we're going to move right into committee. And just want to remind people that committee is open to the public and certainly open to the media. And we'll call committee to order at 6:23 p.m. First up is Finance, Legislative and Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Very light agenda for committee's consideration at this meeting. It is just simply further with some election business, and that will be to appoint a senior election official for the 2018 municipal election. And so this is a standard process that we do. And we will once again be asking Mrs. Diane Van Aert to be our senior election official, and unless somebody has another name that would like to take on that, she's saying please, which I highly doubt. This committee will be bringing forth her name to act as our senior election official, and obviously you can see there is a small amount of money that's set aside for that as well. So unless there's some discussion around that, which I don't think there will be, that does conclude my committee report.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Buds. Councillor Dreger, City Planning and Economic Development.
This committee has nothing to report this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Dreger. Community Services Committee, Councillor Fraze.
Thank you, Worship. The Community Service Committee has nothing formally on the agenda, but I did stop in at noon today at a lunch and learn session hosted by our youth councillor, TT Appa, and I was quite impressed with the number of students that had some really thoughtful questions to ask, and with the organization provided by Councillor Appa. So if she wouldn't mind giving us a little report on that? It would be nice to hear.
Yes, so today was Lunch and Learn. There was an announcement today played in the morning for students to come and enjoy a slice of pizza and meet with Councillor Draycott and the mayor. I think it was a good turnout. They asked, like you said, they asked very intelligent questions, and they were very satisfied. They told me after that they were happy to know that things like that went on in the city, and they were very well informed.
Thank you, Councillor Appa. And that would conclude my report.
Thank you, Councillor Fraze. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
The Waterworks Committee has no report this evening, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Draycott, Transportation.
Thank you, Your Worship. First up, we do have a request that we've received from Manitoba Hydro for the city to accept some ongoing monthly operating costs for 4 streetlights that are being installed in Melco Developments on Melco Drive. So the monthly cost from Manitoba Hydro to operate these 4 streetlights is $53.04 for a total annual bill increase of $636.48 to bring some more street lighting to that area. So we will have that for next council meeting. If there's any discussion on that, we can definitely do that now. And if not, then I will move into our 2017 solid waste annual report. So the report is there. There's a lot of information, including our green boxes. We actually issued 399 green boxes this year, but of those 399 green boxes, 200 of them were donated to Salvation Army in December, and the city is no longer handing out green boxes to people. They are available for purchase at various retailers around the city, and we do suggest that people do get more green boxes or blue boxes if you have need for them for recyclable waste. We do have a large amount of recyclable waste that is diverted from the landfill every year. It's approximately 68 kilograms per person that we did do in 2017. So that's a lot of stuff that was diverted from the landfill over to recycling, so that's great as well. This report does, of course, outline our curbside yard waste program that we run through May to October, and there was a large amount of bags, over 13,000 bags picked up in that time frame, up this year from last year, I do believe as well. 292 Christmas trees were picked up during our recycling program that we had after the Christmas holidays. And one change that we did see in 2017 was we did not hold a household hazardous waste collection day, which we usually hold in September. In late 2017, the summer of, we were informed by Portage District Recycling that they'll be accepting all designated household hazardous waste once a negotiation is finalized with the Product Care Association. I don't know if that's finalized completely and they are accepting that yet, but we are holding out for that to happen soon. And if not, then we would definitely consider, I believe, holding our hazardous waste collection day again. We'll see how that pans out for 2018. If there's a full spreadsheet there of solid waste collected and recyclables, yard waste, and tree weight, and if there are any questions on that, I would be glad to answer anything on that.
Any questions on recycling?
You'll note there is no organic waste included on this particular report, but something that the City of Portage la Prairie has been looking at, I think, for a couple of years is what we could possibly do with organic waste. So hopefully we'll have some answers for that coming up shortly.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Draycott.
No problem.
Public Safety Committee, Councillor Espy, you have some news for us on the Connect app.
I certainly do. The new communication system and mobile app launched in Portage la Prairie. Launched as of right now. City of Portage la Prairie has launched a new communication system that provides us with the ability to communicate with all residents on multiple platforms such as text, email, mobile phones, landline phones, and social media. The new service called Connect Portage provides municipal staff with the ability to send out local information to people on their chosen communication service. Aside from day-to-day communication, Connect Portage is also integrated with Canada's National Emergency Alerting System to send out automated emergency alert notifications to all registrants. In addition, Connect Portage gives municipal staff the ability to send out emergency alerts providing direction on what to do in the event of severe weather events, tornadoes, train derailments, and any other emergency that would require direction and/or support for our citizens. But you need to sign up. Sign up for the Connect Portage today by visiting our website. And sign up for the Connect Portage app Connect Portage before April 9th at noon for the chance to win a Samsung tablet or Google Home Mini. But there is also the app. The City of Portage is also launching a mobile app to increase online engagement and information access. The Portage la Prairie City of Possibilities app provides convenient access to local notices, alert messages, garbage routes, city minutes, and agendas, and more. One key feature of the app is the ability to create a service request. This provides citizens of Portage la Prairie with a direct link of communication to city staff to report issues and request service within the city. Whether you want to report a pothole, an animal running out at large, an illegally parked vehicle, or report a downed tree, the ability to report this information is only as far away as your smartphone. The service request feature, using crowdsourced reporter public mapping applications, allows community members to be involved with the upkeep of Portage la Prairie by submitting problems or observations to city staff. Submissions by users are submitted electronically, and the appropriate department who will investigate the issue is alerted. The app can be downloaded from the App Store or Google Play for free. Now, I invite any questions anyone might have, which I will divert 100% of those to Mr. Darren Jones.
Well, I happen to have the app right here, and I'm going to see what the latest message is. Okay, local notices. According to the Portage Fire Department, today is Fire Safety Day. Oh, that might be an old
There were
notice?
some
Okay.
test messages that were sent out, so those might not be relevant.
Okay, well, maybe it was me. Oh, February 5th. Okay, there is a spay and neuter discount program going on. That's correct? Okay.
It's still
That's
going.
in case, it's still going. Anyway, the point is, if a guy like me can make this work, this could work for any citizen, I think. Anything further to report, Councillor Espy?
That concludes my report.
Thank you. That was a very informative report. Before we adjourn and before question period, I just want to remind people that tomorrow is Portage's 111th birthday. 111 years as of tomorrow we've been a city. And now we'll open up the podium for questions for council from the gallery.
I would just like to ask that for the fourth quarter report for 2017 for parking, animal control, and bylaw report, page 2, the totals for 2016 and 15 are not correct for the quarters. And if that report could be corrected and reissued with the correct totals, that would be appreciated.
Well, thank you very much for that input. Duly noted. Other questions from the gallery? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Then committee is adjourned at 6:33 p.m. And thank you for coming out, everybody. Oh, there's
We thought we might get a cake tomorrow. Do you want to stop by?
Portage Supermarket has an ad on their website. Get your Valentine's.